Hey everybody, it's Ron. Couple things. I'm going to talk to you about something in this video in just a minute, but I wanted to give you a quick update. Y'all know I've been walking, trying to get my 10,000 steps a day in. It's getting close to winter time. Today is November the 8th, 2025. It's about 60 some degrees, but tomorrow the bottom's about to fall out of shit around here, okay? It's going to get cold for a couple days. I do have a gym membership, but walking on the treadmill, to me, it's not the same as walking outdoors. I like walking outdoors better. But when it's inclement weather, I will go do the treadmills. Anyways, today is a first. I have been going over to the local dog park, walking over there. They got a nice path around the place. I can do about 3 laps, get about 4.5 miles in. Anyways, I'm walking near my house. So I live out in the country. Notice I got my yellow vest on. There's a big reason for that, because over on the main road, there's a lot of traffic, and I have to walk on the road. So I'm doing a 4-mile loop from my house. That way I did not have to drive over to the dog park today, and I'm trying to see how long it's going to take me to do that. And yeah, and you know, I used to walk in the mornings during the summer months, but now it's a little bit chillier in the morning, so I've been trying to do my walks in the afternoon. Being retired, I can do that. Anyways, just a quick update. I'm down around 223, 222, which is about 14 pounds since I started this journey back in July. It's not about the weight loss, okay? It's about feeling good about yourself, eating the right things, that kind of stuff. Anyways, in this video, now that you're here, how y'all doing? Welcome back to the channel. And if this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. I appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and keep up with all things Ron. Anyways, what I want to talk to you about in this video is this. Have you ever been disowned? Disowned. Have you ever been disowned? I have. Let me tell you, okay? I was disowned by my father at the ripe age of about 30, okay? I wasn't young. He didn't abandon us, okay? He raised us. You know, my parents were good to us kids. My dad was a strict disciplinarian. The belt was the main means of discipline in the house. My grandpa used to call it the persuader. When I was a young boy, I didn't know what the persuader was. I just thought when he said the persuader, that's what you call a belt. Well, now I know what the word persuader means, okay? Anyways, we were raised right. Raised with a lot of common sense, an ethic to work hard and get rewarded for that. But at the ripe age of about 30, 31, somewhere in that area, my dad disowned me. And I never understood why. It took a lot of years. He sent me a letter. He also sent my sister a letter. Now, I had a younger brother, and I don't know nothing about all that because my younger brother lived near him. One thing I will tell you about my dad. My dad was an only child, okay? And my mom used to tell me all the time that your dad could not love all 3 of you kids at the same time. There was always one of us that was his favorite, okay? And it was either me or my brother, okay? We took turns at being the favorite. And if you were the favorite, then you didn't get in any trouble. But if you weren't the favorite, you got in a lot of trouble, okay? Anyways, when he disowned me, I never understood it, okay? He wrote a letter saying that my great aunt, his aunt, said that we said this and that, this and that, this and that. Had to do over the death of one of my, well, it actually had to do with the death of over his father, my grandfather, and my step-grandmother, okay? Even though she was a step-grandmother, we still called her Grandma Rose. Anyways, it had to do with inheritance or whatever. Isn't it always about money in family squabbles? Isn't it always about money? It's either money or sex, one of the two, okay? Anyways, he wrote a letter and disowned me. I tried to write him a letter back. He sent the letter back to me unopened with another letter, said, I thought I made myself clear. I don't want to have anything to do with you. Well, I was crushed for a lot of years. Probably about I don't know, 14, 15 years went by. I got married, had a son. Uh, he did get to meet my son when he was a baby, but my son pretty much grew up without knowing his grandfather. Anyways, there was a time, and like I said, I couldn't figure out what I'd done wrong. I didn't understand. Let me get over here in the shade a little bit so you can see me on the camera. Anyways, after about 14, 15 years went by, one day, well, my mother, she kind of put a thought into our kid's head, and she tried to get us to make up with our father. And I thought about it for a while, and finally one day I decided I was going to call him. So he had remarried, and I knew who his wife was. I knew who my stepmom was. And anyways, I called his phone number. I went in the bedroom. I asked my wife, would you come in here and sit with me? Because this is going to be hard. It's going to be hard for me to call him. So I called down there, called his number, and my stepmother answered the phone. And as soon as I said Joellen, she knew exactly who I was. Okay? And her and I talked for a few minutes. My dad wasn't there. He was working. He had a job in a gas station. Anyways, I asked her, I said, hey, if I call my dad, do you think he'll talk to me? She goes, yeah, I think he will. I said, okay. She said he'd be home at such and such a time. So I called back. He answered the phone. And we talked for a few minutes. And I told him that we were coming down for a vacation. And I'd like to know if he would like to have a cup of coffee with me. And he goes, I said, sure. He said, sure. He said, I'll have a cup of coffee with you. I said, okay, when I get down there, I'll give you a call and I'll let you know, okay? So we got down there to Florida. He lived in Florida. I was living in Tennessee. We got down there, and I called him up, and we were going to meet at a restaurant there in St. Cloud. He lived in St. Cloud, Florida. And he asked me on the phone, he said, is Lynette and Matthew with you? And I said, yeah, they're here. He said, are they coming? I said, no. I said, they're not coming for this meeting, for this visit. I said, why? He said, I'd like to see them. I said, well, let me ask them. So the three of us went, my wife and my son. My son was about 14 by then. And he had not seen my son since he was a baby. Now, my son sprouted up to be a jolly green giant, okay? Got it from genes. I'm 6'2". My dad was 6'3". I weigh about 220. My dad weighed about 250. And my son's big, okay? And his son is big. So it come in the genes. But anyways, we met at a restaurant, all of us. Him and I talked for a little bit right there at the restaurant table. And anyways, we said our goodbyes. We were there for, I don't know what we was there for, somebody's wedding. And we said our goodbyes. And here comes a car down this street. And we left. Well, later, he calls me on the phone. He says, hey, Joellen and I, that was my stepmom, would like to see you guys. Joellen would like to see you guys. And they wanted to meet for supper. So we did. So we met for supper. So after 14 years, or 15 years, however you want to say it, of not being in contact with my father, I don't know if he realized that he lost all those years. I'd had a surgery in between all that. And I don't know, And I came home and I called my sister. And I told her, I said, hey, my sister lived over in Nashville. I said, hey, I went and seen Dad. She goes, you did? I said, yeah. And I said, I think it might be a good idea if you gave him a call. She goes, really? I said, yeah. I said, he'll talk to you. So she called him. And they kind of rekindled their, rekindled whatever, their relationship, father-daughter. And I talked to my brother. My brother's a year and a half younger than me. That's the same thing. And all three of us siblings reached out to my father It took us. It took us to end this hatred. One thing my grandpa always told me, his father told me this before he died. He says, listen to me. He said, get hate out of your life. I didn't understand what he was saying, but I do now, okay? It ain't worth going to the grave being mad at people, okay? Especially if it's family. You need to make amends. If you got somebody that did this to you, wronged you in some way, you need to make amends. And you know who I'm talking about. I'm talking to you. You had the same problem I had. There's somebody in your family that you don't talk to anymore because of some misunderstanding. Now, let me finish this story so you understand why my father disowned me. It took a lot of years after we rekindled our relationship for me to find this out. So let me explain. A couple years after that, my brother, okay, his name was Kip, okay. Kip and I were close. It's got me choked up now. He died in 2003. He killed himself. He committed suicide. Never understood it. But apparently he had mental health problems a lot over his life, and none of us really knew. My wife did. And the reason why my wife knew is because when he used to come visit me down in Georgia, when I lived down there, they used to get up early in the morning and sit on the back porch and have coffee. And I guess he talked to her. Okay, because my wife, she's got some issues, some depression issues that are controlled by medicine. But anyways, my brother killed himself, okay? It was pretty bad, all right? Him and his wife got in an argument over something. They went home. He took a shotgun and blew his head off, okay? Anyways, it was pretty traumatic. And my dad came up here to Tennessee to the funeral. Shortly after that, okay, my dad got sick. Now, he was 72 years old. He got sick, and I knew about it. So my stepmom told me they didn't know what was wrong with him, and they were checking him out. But apparently he had renal carcinoma. If you know what that is, kidney cancer. He was a lifetime smoker. Smoked his entire life. From whenever, 14 years old, all the way till he found out he had kidney cancer. So I went to Florida on my own. I went down there and stayed with him for about 4 days. Him and I had some long talks at the kitchen table at his house while my stepmother was working. And it was really sad, okay? Because when I got finished with that visit, I knew that I wasn't going to see my dad anymore, okay? And they took me to the airport to come back home. My dad, he was pretty sick. I took him to the doctor appointment one time. He was so bad that they couldn't do nothing for him. We went to the airport. They took me to the Orlando airport, and they put me. And I went to get out of the truck, his truck, and my stepmother went with us, and my stepbrother. And I got out of the truck, and I went to. I went to shake his hand, okay? And my dad grabbed me, and he hugged me really hard. And I told him, I says, I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back and see you in a couple months, okay? And I said, and then we'll do some things. He said, his last words to me were, if I'm still here. That's the last thing he said to me. I came home about, 2 months later. My son was getting married, okay? And my dad was big on family stuff. Weddings, funerals, you name it. He was there, okay? Especially weddings. If somebody was getting married in the family, he was there. He was coming to the wedding. He told his doctor, he told his oncologist, I'm going to my grandson's wedding. Okay? And I thought he was coming. I thought they were going to drive up here. My son got married on Friday. On a Friday, I remember this. My stepmother called me on a couple days before that, said, I don't think he can make the trip. And he was on hospice care at the time. She said, I don't think he's coming. I said, okay. My son got married on Friday, and my dad died on Monday. So, like I said, don't let hate ruin your life. Be the bigger person, like I did. Step forward. Don't let all them years pass you by before you do that, because that's what I did. Okay. I don't have any regrets, because I did make up with my dad, or we made up with each other. I don't think either one of us was at fault. Now, would you like to know, I'm going to end this video here. Would you like to know why my dad disowned me? It goes back to what I said near the beginning of this video, that my dad could not love all three of us children together at the same time. When my dad passed away, I went down to see my stepmother. She had some things around the house she needed done, and I told her I'd come down and do them. So I went down there, and she had a box, and in that box was family stuff that she thought needed to stay in our family and that my dad had. Pictures and things like that. We sat at the kitchen table before I left, had a cup of coffee. I said, you know, Jo Ellen, her name was Jo Ellen. I said, you know what I don't understand, Jo Ellen? I don't understand why my dad did what he did. She said, I'm going to tell you why, okay? This is the first time I've heard this. She said, it was because of your brother. I said, my brother? She goes, yes. He was living down here. He was working for your dad. They had a home remodel business or something. And when you guys came back from your grandpa's funeral, he told your dad that you and your sister were in the motel room saying all these things about your inheritance and all that. She said, it's nothing you did. You didn't do this. She said, your brother did this. And it goes back to what I said in the beginning of the video. My father could not love all three of us children at the same time. And my mother always blamed it on him because he was the only child. And I guess when you're an only child, you can be awful selfish. My name's Ron. That's my story. This is my channel. I appreciate every single one of you being on this channel. I really and truly do. I consider all my subscribers friends of Ron. I'll talk to you later. See ya. Bye-bye.